Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the fifth episode of Patiently Waiting with Shanna Lee. Yes, you have tuned in to Patiently Waiting with Shanna Lee, and I am so excited that you are back with me again. So, do me a favor if you haven't already, subscribe, like, comment, and share. Right now, we're just exclusively on YouTube, but I would love for you to subscribe. I would love for you to comment, for you to like it, and for you to share with your friends, right? I told you we're taking this journey with this podcast, right? And so right now we're on YouTube, but you know, I'm hoping by the end of the year, we gonna be on all the other platforms, okay? Because, um, you know, I just got off of our second annual self-care retreat. Yes, 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 yes. I have the sweatshirt. I am worthy. I am worthy. That was our theme this year. We went to Broken Bow, Oklahoma. It was me and some other ladies, and so it was such a blast. It was such a blast. When I tell you it was a blast, the laughs, the conversations, the bonding. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. We line dance, we horseback. Oh, some of us horseback, but that's another story for another time. And we did Christian yoga, did some great stretching. And we had some sisterhood moments. My session was called I Am Worthy, and it was beautiful. And then, of course, the farewell dinner. It was lovely. I'm going to have to do a whole podcast just thanking everyone. If you follow me on social media, I was thanking everybody Sunday night when I got back. But just to name a couple of people, Excel Social Media did my content. So I'm going to be dropping the recap video, and if you are watching this after I drop the recap video, I encourage you to run to our social media, Mommy and Waiting 1124, Breathe and Exhale 360, and to check out the recap video. You don't want to miss it, y'all. You don't want to miss it. It's even on our YouTube pages, I'm going to upload it there. So it's a beautiful, beautiful video. So Excel Social Media, they did that. They did that. Then all the decor that you will see in the video, all the decor, and let me tell you, I just recently heard that when the Lord wants to grow you, he'll send you people. And when I tell you, um, Embodies Decor, Crystal Foster, is the owner of Embodies Decor. She came to the retreat last year and she saw her friend needed help, y'all. She did. And she just stepped in and she did the decor last year. So you see when we were in Fredericksburg, she did all the decor, in Fredericksburg and everything. And so this year she did all the decor again. It was beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then she also did the catering, the food on Thursday and Friday. Saturday we had a brunch as well as the farewell dinner done by Spice Lavender. But Chef Nina. So y'all, we ate good, okay? The whole weekend, the whole weekend. But when I tell you, Crystal is a godsend. So that's Embodies Decor. And so that's who did all the decorations. Spice Lavender did the brunch and the farewell dinner on Saturday. Then I had Healing on the Mat, which was the yoga instructor, Nicole Donald. Then the Sisterhood Moments was led by Dr. Charlotte Allen. So it was a grand old time. The company that did our transportation was River. Hold on, I gotta get this right, y'all. So hold on, I'm gonna look it up. It's red. I want to think it's Red Dirt Transportation, but hold on, I'll let you know because I want to get it right because I'm gonna write a review for them. They did such an amazing job. The owner Mark was just so which is so Red Dirt Car Services. They're in Broken Bow. Okay. So if you need car services in Broken Bow, it's not that many, but Red Dirt Car Services, they're the truth. Mark was so hopeful. And he also, um, provided transportation for some ladies that came in from the airport from Texarkana. I mean, they were just a pleasure to work with. So definitely giving them a shout out. And then where we did horseback riding was with Riverman. That's who we did the horseback riding with, and so it was a streamless Riverman Trail Rides, and so that's in Broken Bow as well. And they they did a great job as well. Very easy to work with and everything such as that. I'm trying to make sure I don't forget anybody. But it was an amazing time. It was really an amazing time. We stayed in a cabin. It was beautiful. The ladies bonded. We have now a thread that we are staying in community with one another. And so if you are just looking for a great getaway, a great time away just to think about yourself, the trip is all inclusive, so you don't have to worry about food, transportation once you get there, lodging. You don't have to worry about none of that. The only thing you have to worry about is if you want to get souvenirs, okay? And so next year, I'm actually dropping it tomorrow, so you get to know it as well. We are going so in 2026 for our third annual self-care retreat, we're going to Austin, Texas. Yes, Austin, Texas, and the theme is restful. So restful retreat. So we're not going to be sleeping all the whole weekend. We're gonna have a good time. But I want you to prepare to come on. Come on now, come on. I would tell you the ladies gave me disclaimers to tell, new attendees, but I'm going to have an informational session in these upcoming weeks. So be on the lookout for that. Be on the lookout for that information. But in the meantime, you definitely want to make sure that you're following us at Breathe and Exhale 360, Mommy and Waiting 1124, just to make sure that you stay in the know, to stay in the know. But I'm super excited and everything. I have some great things planned for us in Austin. So yeah, so you want to secure your spot. You want to secure your spot, and all the information can be found on breatheandexhale360.com. I also have a FAQ page so it can answer some preliminary questions. But the deposit is $150. And then we do offer payment plans, and then you'll see the single occupancy is 1450, the double occupancy is 1250, and so it's um it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a great time, and so I'm super excited about that. Super excited about that. So you wanna get away, you want a self-care retreat, you just wanna and, while I was there, and then we're gonna jump into the episode. While I was there, just that the Lord placed in my spirit that I'm creating a space for women to pause, breathe, and to exhale. Just to take a time for themselves. They don't have to worry about anybody else. They don't have to worry about nothing. They could just really spend time for them with themselves and their thoughts, however that may look. And so my heart is full from that. My heart is full from that. So it was a great time. So I hope that you take it up right before it sell out, because once it sell out, you're gonna have to wait until the following year. Okay. Okay. All right. So let's jump in. Let's jump in, right? Let's jump in to episode five, y'all. So I'm super excited about episode five because episode five is talking about patience and purpose, the two P words, right? The two P words that if we think about it, we don't really want to talk about the word patience. We don't really like that word. That word is like a bad word, right? Because it's like how many times you hear people say, I really don't have patience. I don't, and so it's like, okay, patience, right? And then purpose, right? sometimes we can overuse that word in society, right? And people are constantly searching for their purpose and purpose and purpose. And one thing that I always try to tell people when it comes to your purpose is really just finding that thread throughout your life, that you just find so effortlessly. And honestly, I feel like even if you find it effortlessly, I think if you just keep going, the Lord will show you your purpose. Um, and so we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that because I think sometimes when we're waiting, um, it feels as though waiting can be a waste of time. It's like, man, when is it gonna happen? When is it gonna happen? And you just feel like you're wasting your time and everything. And so I gotta remember I got this mic. I get so comfortable, y'all. I get so comfortable. So let me and then I gotta show my book, y'all. I'm gonna have my setup all right. I'm gonna get my setup right, y'all. And so, because Mommy and Waiting is available if you haven't picked up your copy just yet. I'm gonna do an impromptu commercial. If you haven't picked up your copy as yet, you can get Mommy and Waiting. All the information is in the show notes, but you can get your copy at mommyandwaiting.com or on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, Books a Million is available and everything. So head on over there. Or if you are in the local DFW area, the Doc Bookstore. And so yeah, pick up your copy. Pick up your copy, y'all. It's a good copy. It's a good book, all right? And so we're gonna talk about the waiting season. So back to our regular program. And so I feel like when we are waiting, sometimes it can feel like it's a waste of time, when in actuality, the waiting period, the waiting season is building. It's building some things in us. It's building patience. It's building purpose. And so, um, it's definitely not a waste of time, even though we may feel like it is really not a waste of time. And so, what we're going to talk about in this episode is what does that really look like? The patience and the purpose, right? And we're gonna go through it. We're gonna talk about some of me personally, some things that I've learned in my waiting season. And it's not just the only waiting season that I've been in. I've been in other waiting seasons, and I'll talk about what I learned during those times as well. And so, when we think about it, we think about the Bible and we think about, different people in the Bible. We have Moses, right? Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt, and what was supposed to be a 3-day trip turned into a 40 years trip, right? So 40 years trip. And that was a lot of waiting, right? That was like, wait a minute, you done took us out, even though they were slaves, right? And so I want to encourage you, I always going to do this. I want to encourage you to go and read the Bible for yourself, right? And so Exodus 2 and 3 is what well, Exodus is about Moses. And so you can read the whole book. I think it's a great book. And so Moses, just to give you a quick recap of, Moses was born at the time Pharaoh was killing all the young boys. But his mama was like, "No, we ain't killing my baby," and so she put Moses by the river, and then one of the Hebrews, or one of the Egyptians saw, I'm sorry, one of the Egyptians saw Moses, came and got him. And what's so amazing how God is so good, because his mom actually was the person that nursed him. Even though he was with the Egyptian, right? With the Egyptian family. And so that's how good God is, right? Because he will always he just be doing stuff, y'all. He be doing stuff, and he will connect, even though it looks like a dim situation. The fact that he had his biological mother, still wean him, right? So she was still able to look over her son, right? And so Moses then, he grows up. Okay, so I'm going fast where he grows up, and he actually ends up. He knows that um, he's a Hebrew, and he sees a Hebrew and an Egyptian fighting, and he goes and he interferes, right? And so he ends up killing the Egyptian. And so the next day he wakes up and he sees two Hebrew boys, Hebrews fighting. And so he goes over like, "Why y'all fighting?" And one of the Hebrew boys was like, "Oh, you gonna kill me like you killed the Egyptian?" Yes, that's how people are. They would throw some stuff up at you, right? Won't they? And so anyway, so Moses ends up fleeing Egypt. And he goes and so then he's in Midian. And he's there. He ends up getting married, ends up having a son, and the Lord comes and taps him on the shoulder and say, "Hey, I hear your people are in slavery. They are and they're crying out and everything. I need you to go and rescue them." And Moses, he has this back and forth, and I tell you, I think it's really good. You should, and it's in Exodus 2, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's in Exodus 2. So I think in Exodus, you know what? You know what? Y'all know I got to go and check it out. I want to stay you wrong. I don't want to stay you wrong, but I want to believe it is Exodus 2. No, I'm sorry. I was wrong. Exodus 3 is when him and God is having this back and forth because Moses didn't think he was equipped enough to go and get his people. And the Lord was like, "No, I know who I called. I know who I called. So you need to go ahead and I need you to go and do this." Right. So after their little back and forth, and I'm telling you and you often will hear people talk about the famous line when God tells Moses when Moses asks, "Well, who should I say send me?" And he said, "I am who I am." That's like a famous line that you may hear, right? People quoting from the Bible. And so Moses go back and he because Moses had a stuttering problem, had a speech problem. And so he was like, "Well, who gonna help me?" So the Lord said, "Okay, okay, Moses, since we keep having these back and forth, okay, let me go ahead and send you Aaron. Okay, now y'all, I'm telling y'all read it for yourselves because this is Shanley interpretation. Okay. And so Aaron and Moses go and they go back and forth with Pharaoh. They have this whole back and forth. Fast forward, Pharaoh finally let them go, reluctantly, but he finally let them go. And so now catching up to the 40 years, right? And so Moses, it was supposed to be a 3-day trip that turned into 40 years, right? And when you think about the story of the Israelites going through for 40 years, trying to get to the promised land, right? And when you think about 1 year, 2 year, you gotta put this in perspective, y'all. Like when we don't even like to wait for a year or a second year, right? But 40 years, right? They waited for 40 years. And in that time, right, I truly believe that the Lord was working things out because if you think about it, it was a whole new generation because alert, Moses didn't get to go into the promised land, right? Joshua did. And so it was a whole new generation, right? And so even with that, right, when we think about our generations, when we think about what our grandparents probably taught us or what we heard from our grandparents, right, to our parents, to us, right? And just thinking about even just from the times, right, and how society has changed with those three generations, our grandparents, our parents, and now us, right? And then if you have children, your children's generation, right? Very much different. I think about my niece and my nephews. Our generation's totally different, right? And so with that, right, the Lord was also what the Lord was doing during that time is that he was doing some things in the Israelites. He was I think was shedding some of that mentality of them being enslaved, being in bondage, right? I think he was shedding some of that, right? Because the thing about when we are in our waiting season and we have to wait a period of time, we may think we're wasting time, but in that same manner, our mindset starts changing. Our perspective starts changing. There is things that you start looking at very much differently now when you have to wait a while when you go through that process, right? And so when you just imagine 40 years of like what they are I'm thinking about what they were consuming, what they thought about themselves when they were slaves, right? Versus now they're not slaves. Now they're free. Now I'm telling you, go and read it because they was complaining, y'all. They was some complaining folks, right? And so even then, when you think about when you first start going, when you are in your waiting season, you're like, could you imagine, right? First or second year, like, "Oh, we free." When they first leave Egypt, we free, we're not slaves anymore. Okay, we good, we good, we good." About the 5th night, hold up, I done left my good house. Yes, I was a slave, but I left my house. Now I'm out here in this wilderness, right? And so now you have the complaining. Right? And if we think about our waiting season, we go through that. We go through the, okay, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. And then you start complaining, like, well, Lord, when you gonna come through for me? Like, what? I'm hungry. They was somebody hungry, they're thirsty. Like, when are you gonna come through for us? Right? And so we go through that. But by the time they make it into the promised land, I believe that all of their thought process was very much different because the Lord said those things. He changed the complaining, right? He gave them a new perspective. Here it is now, right? Could you imagine them what they've seen in those 40 years with one another, right? Or even getting close to different people, right? Like I said, it was some generations that went through. Okay. And so that's the story in the book. If you ever wanna read through about what patience and purpose, and as we read through the story of Moses, and them going to the promised land, the Lord had to change some things. He couldn't send them into the promised land with the same mindset as slaves. They just couldn't, right? When we're waiting on something, when we're in a season of waiting or whatever it is, and we have that initial thought process of what it is, and we look at it like, "How is it gonna benefit me?" Because that's who we are. We think about, "Well, it gotta benefit me, and this is what I want, and this is what I like," right? And the Lord is like, "Oh, hold up. Is it all about you, or is it for my glory? Hold up. Hold up. Let's rewind this thing," right? And so we go through that, right? And then as the Lord is shaping us, as He is molding us, as He is pruning us of our ways, then He can give us that promised land. Now we can take on the promised land because now we know how to treat the promised land. Now we know how to obey the Lord. Now we know what it looks like a little bit. Like now we're like, okay, this is it. This is it. And so that's the story when it comes. I did a quick synopsis of Moses. Like I said, I encourage you to go and read the book of Exodus because it shows that through the years, the Lord had to change some things. He got to change some things. The next story I want to talk about is David. Oh man, David. David was anointed to be king as a teenager. What's so interesting is that I planned out these these episodes, right? And it's so interesting that it never fails that like a story that we studied in my life group. So I'm leading a life group for my church this semester. And it's like coincide. Now, granted, it's called the waiting room. So I mean, you have stories all in the Bible about waiting. But I always find it just so interesting how how every episode it kind of correlates, right? So we talked about David this past Tuesday and everything. And so I just think it's interesting. But with David, he was anointed as a teenager and then he didn't become king until later on. And in the midst of that, and I want to encourage you to go and read the story of David. It starts in First Samuel, y'all. Like it's good. It's good job. And so with that, it starts in First Samuel 16. Okay, so First Samuel chapter 16. So I want to encourage you to go and read it. And so the thing about it is, hold on. So the thing about it is that during this time, David was also like trying to live at the same time because Saul was ready to kill him, y'all. He was ready. He was on it, right? Because David, he was a shepherd boy. He killed, he was taking care of his sheep and any animal that threatened his sheep, he was ready to kill them. And so how David became popular was because of Goliath. Everybody was scared to fight the Philistine, but then David came through, and David was like, my God, wait a minute. And so again, the Shanley interpretation. Go and read it, y'all. Go and read it. And so David goes and he kills Goliath, so he becomes popular, right? But then Saul came as some jealous spirit, y'all. He came with some jealousy, and he was already tormented. Because I'm telling you, you got to go and read the story. He was already tormented and everything that he actually wanted to kill David, and so David was like on the run for his life, right? Before he even became king. And so with that, though, when you think about it, um, as a teenager, right? Think back of when you were a teenager, right? Um, how would you be the king as a teenager versus as an adult? So sometimes when God is pruning us, when He is allowing us to wait, He's maturing us. That's the thing. Right. So you got Moses and the Israelites is teaching us that the Lord sometimes has to take some things off of us, right? Take some mindsets, shape our mindset, take some mindset away from us, right? Because we're just in a certain mindset. He got to shed us of some things. But then David shows us that sometimes when God lets us wait, He got to mature us, right? Because what we think we are good about, what we think, okay, yeah, this is good. This is, when we think about like, okay, I'm ready. We think we're ready. Are we really mature about it? Is it really a maturity situation? Right. And so we have that. And so that's what David kind of shows us because it was a long time. He was anointed. He was anointed to be king, but he did not become king until years later. Years later. And so I want you to think about that sometimes when God is allowing us to wait, He is maturing us. And then the third, and definitely I would say, um, so the third person I want to talk about is Jesus, right? When you read the New Testament, read the Gospels, and I want to encourage you to go and read the Gospel, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. When you go and read that, we hear about Jesus when he was born, about his conception and when he was born. We hear about an incident when he was a little boy being lost at the temple. And then we don't hear about him again until he starts his ministry. That's 30 years. So that's 30 years before he's starting his ministry. Now, this is Jesus, y'all. Jesus didn't have to wait. Jesus could do whatever he wanted to do. But even in God, all knowing, and because he is God and he is because he is all knowing, he even said that Jesus had to wait 30 years before he brought his ministry, before he went and he found his disciples and started his ministry. And some were like, well, what was Jesus doing during that time? He was preparing and getting ready for his ministry, right? And so oftentimes we want, because we live in a microwave society, we want things just as fast and we want things to just instant. We do. We're like, we dream about it. We dream about it and we're like, yeah. That's it. Let's go. Let's go. You know what I'm saying? Um, and we want it so bad, but we also have to realize the Lord is doing something in us. The Lord is probably shaping our mindset and preparing us mentally for the thing that we're waiting on. I think back and now I'll share some of just my own personal journey because when we go look at Romans 8:28, this is the NIV version, it says, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose, right? What we realize is that in our waiting season, God is refining us. He is teaching us. He is orchestrating our gifts, our faith. It is not just um it is not just we just wasting time. I love the story about Elijah. Y'all gonna probably hear a lot about Elijah, but I love Elijah because it shows when God takes you and hides you, right? And sometimes when it comes to those waiting season, we got to start changing our mindset and realizing those are hidden moments by God, orchestrated by God, ordained by God. Because those hidden moments are the moments that are going to shape us. That's going to prepare us. That's going to get us ready for the season that He wants us to go in. See, we can't rush those process, right? And we can. I shouldn't say that. We can rush it, but we shouldn't want to. We should really want to be orchestrated by God, to be ordered by God, right? And knowing that if we allow God to orchestrate our steps, to order our steps, know that He has the best plan. Knowing that those seasons that we're waiting, those waiting seasons, those hidden moments, He's refining us. He is teaching us. He is growing us. He is maturing us. He is sh- taking some things off of us, right? He is shaping our mindset. He is um, preparing us. He's doing all those things. When I think about just in my personal life, when I was when I was single, before I got married, I was a three strikes and you out type of chick. I did not play with. I don't got time for you. I really don't. So you did three things. Ace. Oh, you the deuces. I'll tell you, it ain't working out. Goodbye. Have a great night. Have a great life. I wouldn't even do the whole "it's you, it's me." I wouldn't even do that. I'd be like, "Listen, we just on two different pages. It's okay. I wish you nothing but the best." And I'll just be done with it. I ain't care. I did not. I was that person. And so the Lord said, "You got it. If I bring you a husband, you just gonna get rid of him." Even though in my mind I'm like, "Well, we married, it'll be different." But the Lord knows us. The Lord, like, no, you will be like, let's go. And so what I found is that in my season of waiting, when I was intentionally being single, right? I dated a guy, it didn't work out. And so after him, I was intentionally being single, right? And because I always had somebody. That's the other thing. I always had somebody. And the Lord was like, girl, I need you to get rid of everybody. Just be with me. Just work with me and you. And so I did that. And I just focused on my relationship with God. And in the midst of that, you know, He was also working on me and developing me and making me realize you can't just get rid of people just because they don't do what you want them to do after three times. Or just because they don't listen to you in three times. And then who said what you do asking them to do is right? You know what I'm saying? Like it was all that, y'all. It was all that. But he was maturing me. He was maturing me so to be ready for my husband. That I can't just throw tantrums. I can't just be like, no, this ain't it. I don't got time. Da, 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 da. He was maturing me in this season, right? In my single season. And so that's one way that I can say, like, no, he does. He matures us. I think about when I was looking for a job, and I would say that that was one of my I guess that was like me. I stepped out on faith, right? And so I think I always say like this was one me looking for a job in the season of waiting to land a job to break into my career. It was like one of the first seasons, or I would say one of the first times I would say that the Lord was saying to me, this is gonna this is gonna start changing your relationship with me. And what I mean by that, to just unpack that a little bit, is that up until me looking for, me, up until the point um of me going into like trying to find a career, life was easy for me. Like I got into the schools I wanted to, I got the job that I wanted, I got the place that I wanted. Like everything was just boom, boom, boom. It was no hard moments for me. And then when I stepped out on faith and I was like, okay, I'll find a job because it's always been easy for me. And in those years where it was like 5 years and I was trying to find a job, and the Lord was really showing me like how to have a relationship with him. Like I grew up in church and I never was forced to go to church. I always been a person that like just loved the Lord. Like I gave my life to the Lord at age 13. Um my parents didn't force us to go to church or anything like that. We had to go up until like our teenage years, and then our teenage years they allowed us to make the decision. So it was never I never was rebellious. Now it doesn't mean I was perfect, but this means like I never went too far off from but I always was serious about the Lord. So even if I went to a club on Saturday, I made sure I was in the church house on Sunday. Okay. I was one of them. Okay. I was like, I could go to the club and go to church, right? And so my faith has always been important to me, always. And so it never wavered, even when I wasn't living up to, you even if I was doing my thing, right, was always important to me. And so with that, I think about that, and I think it was my first like life lesson of like what's your relationship with God, with my Savior. And so my relationship started going deeper because honestly, it wasn't like I realized, oh, it ain't a formula. Like, wait a minute, I'm still going to church. Wait a minute, I'm still reading my Bible. But okay, Lord, like, why I'm not getting a job though, right? And then the entire time he was setting things up, and sometimes that's what it is, even in the waiting season, is that he's setting things up for you, right? Because honestly, the first job that I landed, it helped put me on put me on the course for my career, right? And he was setting things up. He orchestrated me meeting my friend. I remember I was like, this so like, Lord, where am I going to meet? How am I going to break in? I was going on job interviews after job interviews. I was not getting a call back. I did mock interviews to see if I was interviewing well, if this, to learn to check myself. I did all of that and still nothing. But every time I would go to a networking event, I would pray and say, Lord, please connect me with someone that will help me in my future. Please connect me with someone. Like that was my prayer. It was a little bit longer, but that was the gist of it. And I finally met my friend Jennifer, and we just start seeing each other at different networking events. And she, at the time, she was looking for a job too, but she had experience. And so when she landed a job, I took her out to breakfast. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got to take you out to breakfast and celebrate." And so when we got there, she was like, "Shelly, you don't got no job. I'll go pay for the breakfast." But one thing that she did though, because she was a believer as well, she gave me Jesus Calling devotional. And that devotional changed my life. Okay. I love that devotional. And he introduced me to it. And she was like, "Shanley, this helped me on so many dates." And I was like, "Oh, thank you," you know? And so what ends up happening is that she got a director role. And so she called me up a couple weeks later and she was like, "Hey, I got two positions and one of them I think is for you. It is entry level, but trust me, you just need your foot in the door." And that's how I got into my career. The Lord was setting it up for me, right? Because I literally got in the door. I did that entry role for 1 year and I was gone. I was and not gone from the company because I stayed there for 2.5 years. But I got promoted to a new role and everything. I just needed my foot in the door and I just needed someone to just see that in me and it was just us networking and connecting with one another, right? I say that to say that this is the thing about the Lord. It's always in his perfect timing. It's when we receive, because all things work together for his good, right? And in his perfect timing, it happens, right? And so in our waiting season, we should don't look at it as a wasted time. Look at it that he's maturing you. Look at it that he is, you know, changing your mindset, that he got to get some things off of you, right? Look at it that he is molding you into where he's want to take you, right? One of the things, of course, I'm, my husband and we desire to have children, and one of the things when we first got married and I was like, I wanted to have children. I always wanted to have children. But it was for superficial reasons, right? I'm not gonna lie, it was for superficial reasons. Now I desire a child because I'm like, man, to have a child that I help to nurture their God given talents. To have a child, and I may be being too deep, but I think it's so important to understand the magnitude of being a parent. You're helping to shape an adult, helping to shape somebody's faith, helping to shape. And so it's something that I don't take lightly. I don't take parenting lightly, right? And, I don't think I'm going to be like a covering parent or parent that spoiled their child, but I'm gonna recognize because that is one of my prayers. I pray over myself and my husband. That Lord help us to steward the gifts that you give to our children. That we recognize those gifts and that we oh, because we recognize those gifts that we help steward them well, right? And that we help them understand that their faith is not a checkbox. Is so much deeper and deeper than that. That is not and helping them. Like granted, I can't protect them from everything, right? But when situations arise that it doesn't go the way they want, to show them how do we walk through those seasons, right? And so those are the things that I pray about for my child. I pray that our child will be our child, our children, whatever the Lord blesses us with, will be leaders and not followers, that they will love Christ for themselves, not because we tell them to, not because of anything. They love Christ for themselves and to make sure that we nurture that, right? And so those are the things that I pray about now, right? Um and things. And so knowing that is recognizing that when the Lord has us waiting, to have the patience to understand that there's purpose in the waiting season, right? For us to know that this is an area that where we get to refine our gifts and refine our faith. Our relationship with God changes when we wait. It goes a little bit deeper, right? You start seeing people differently, right? You don't see things as black and white anymore. You start seeing people with the gray. You start seeing some compassion. You start understanding a little bit more, right? And so that's one thing. And then understanding that what our purpose is shaped in those hidden moments, those hidden years, right? The person that y'all see today doing who wrote Mommy and Waiting, that's leading her, that's the director of prayer at her church, that's leading a life group, that's doing patiently waiting, that ushers a self-care retreat for women, and that they can show up with their faith because I bring my faith with me everywhere. Is if you would have told me this was gonna be the same woman that's sitting right here when I was in my 20s, when I was even in my early 30s, I would have been like, I don't know about it. I don't know about it. But that's how good God is because He has strengthened my faith throughout the years, right? And so I grew in my faith. And because I grew in my faith, I had to grow in Him. And so with it breathed, it birthed. It birthed the woman that you see today. All those experiences birthed those hidden years of me studying my Bible, like reading my word, crying while I'm reading my word because I'm like, Lord, I thought you said, and I don't understand why this ain't happening. And, and having my prayer life with Him and getting stronger in my prayer life. All of that took place in those hidden years. It did that. It birthed the Breathe and Exhale 360 CEO. It birthed the author of Mommy and Waiting. It birthed the podcast host of Patiently Waiting with Shanna Lee. It birthed the, the career women, and the women that my friends and my family get to see. It birthed um, the prayer warrior that some people may say, right? It birthed all of those because of those hidden moments. And so that's the thing you need to realize is when God is asking us to do something that asking us to wait. Waiting isn't the punishment. Waiting is the growing. Waiting is the seed that He is like, if you just wait, my child, what's He got something so great for you. He really does. And so I just want to encourage you to remember that, to know that if you're in your waiting season, I'm not saying it's not tough some days. I'm not saying it's not easy some days. And I'm telling you, go back and listen to some of the other some of the episodes. There's one about emotions, and that I talk about that. It doesn't mean that it's easy, right? The waiting journey, the waiting season, the waiting years is not easy. Some days it's easy. Some days you are for certain and you know, okay, God, I'm waiting. Okay, I'm good. And then some days you're like, Lord, but I want you to remember on those not so tough days, on those little tough days, that your waiting has a purpose. And it pays to be patient. It pays to allow Him to do what He does. And He gets to refine you. When you allow the Lord to refine you, ooh, you in some good, let me tell you, in some good hands. You was in some great hands. Because when I think about, sometimes I think about like, for me, like, um, the guy that I dated before my husband. I remember my heart being so broken, y'all. Like I was just like, Lord, like I so thought that was gonna be my husband. Like, what's the story? Like, I don't get it. And I remember just being so heartbroken around after we broke up. But when I tell you the Lord knows best, because when I think about His version of me, not the 20 something version, not the 30 something version that guy was dating. When I think about this version, God is so all knowing that He knew, no, you need somebody that can handle this version. And I'm going to continue to grow, right? But I thank God for my husband. My husband can put up with my crazy ways sometimes. My husband can put up with my big dreams. And he be right there like, okay, babe. Like, I know I'll be wearing him out. I know I got to be. But my husband can handle it, right? He can handle it. Recently he's been praying over me about with everything that I got going on, right? He can handle it and he can handle this version of me. And I thank God for that. I thank God for him, right? Um, doesn't mean that he perfect, doesn't mean I'm perfect, right? But what it means is that I'm just so I'm in awe of God sometimes to know like, wow, God, you didn't give me what I wanted. And I'm so glad you did it. Because I don't know if I would be this person today, to be quite honest. Or if we would have got a divorce or something. I still think me and my husband would still be together because I believe that everything works according to God's plans. And so even if I would have like went and got married, and he would have been like, girl, listen, that ain't it. Let me stop. I don't know. I don't know if that's it, but let me tell you, I do believe that it would have worked out. That my husband and I would be together. But but I say that to say that just know for those moments that God is doing a He's doing a work in you. So know that having patience and having the purpose is right there. Some of the practical ways, because I like to give like some type of practicality, you can journal on how you're growing. Lately, especially this year, I've been journaling of like just how I've grown just this past year. I've been journaling very more often this year. Right. And so just journaling on what your skills or your lessons that you're learning that you're growing in. Right. Serving on where you are now. Right. I say this all the time. Like right now, I'm in a season where it's very much uncomfortable for me because I don't really know. I don't really have a plan. I don't know how long I'm going to do this podcast. I don't know how long. I just don't know. Like I'm just like going with the flow. The Lord told me to do it. Okay, let's do it. Kind of thing, right? And so I say that to say this that I am stewarding what He has given me today in this season. I'm not far ahead. I'm not trying to go into the next season like, okay, Lord, this is what we're gonna do. Da, da, da. It's just what is He giving me today and stewarding it well. I'm just trying to master it and trying to steward it well, trying to get better at this. I'm trying to get better at this podcast, right? And make sure that I'm stewarding the podcast well. I'm trying to make sure I steward the self care retreats well. I'm trying to make sure I steward mommy and waiting and getting it out so people can read it. And so it's not just my friends and family that hears it, but it's other people that exposed to it, right? I'm trying to steward those things well, right? And that's just those things, but also I'm trying to steward my marriage well because I do have a lot of things going on. I'm making sure that I don't neglect my husband, right? And so trying to steward my marriage well in this season where I do have a lot of things on my plate, but making sure that he doesn't feel neglected, right? Then I'm trying to steward, making sure that I'm stewarding my responsibilities at church because, you know, I know some people we're not gonna get into that. That's a whole nother sermon, right? I believe in everything that I do with excellence, right? And because I do it unto the glory of God, right? I'm trying to make sure I steward my job well, right? My yeah, my job well, right? I'm trying to make sure I steward it all well. I'm trying to make sure I steward my friendships well. I'm still just trying to steward my family well. I'm trying to make sure I steward it all well. So I'm just trying to steward this season right now well. Right? But at the same time, I don't put pressure on myself, and I don't want don't think I'm over here overwhelmed or nothing like that. I'm not, but I'm just being mindful of it. And so I'm just trying to make sure that I'm stewarding the season that He has me in, right? And um, so instead of longing for, oh my gosh, Lord, when are you going to give us children? Oh my gosh, Lord, when are you going to do that? I'm just doing what He asked me to do, and know that all of that will come. All of that will come, right? Um, you know, it's about to be the end of the year. Some people like to create vision boards to show what God is calling them to do. You can always do a vision board if you are a visual person. You need to see it. That's an option too, right? And then you can always make it into a party, invite women over, or make it a co-ed and just and just see and then y'all create vision boards. So it's that. So I want you just to think about that, think about all those things of when you are waiting, your waiting years, right? The seasons when the Lord has you waiting, to have patience, to know He's developing you, and it has a purpose, right? And so I want you just to reflect on what is being developed in me during this wait because it's developing something in you. So what is that? So think about that, journal that question, right? What is being developed in me during this wait, right? Perseverance, what it could be, right? Consistency, consistency, y'all. So discipline. That's another one. That's another word that we always want to back up on, right? So, you know, we're gonna pray. I gotta close out in prayer. And so I want you to just know that God got you, right? I gotta end like that. God does got you, even if you feel like He doesn't. He got you. Okay. Um, I'll be back next week with episode 6. And episode 6 is when waiting feels like silence. We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk about that when waiting feels like silence, y'all. Okay. All right. I'm gonna pray us out. And thank you for listening. Yeah, thank you for listening. All right. Check you out next week. But let's pray. All right. Dear Father, thank you for reminding us that waiting is not wasted, even when we can't see the full picture. You are shaping our purpose behind the scenes, Lord. Oh, you are shaping purpose behind the scenes. Thank you for every delay that develops discipline, every pause that produces patience, and every quiet season that deepens our faith. Lord, help us to trust that what you have started, you will finish. What you have started, you will finish, Lord. When we grow weary, strengthen our hearts. When we feel overlooked, remind us that we are seen, chosen, and being prepared for something greater. Teach us to serve faithfully, right where we are, to bloom in this season instead of rushing into the next. To bloom in this season instead of rushing into the next. Let our waiting refine our character and align our hearts with your will. We declare, we declare that our purpose is unfolding right on time. And we rest in the truth that your timing is perfect. We rest in the truth that your timing is perfect, Lord. So, Lord, we say thank you. We say thank you, thank you, thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. I will see y'all next week when we talk about when waiting feels like silence.